Jesus freak here. So I was thinking, when I think of Pentecostals, where I think of, your classic Pentecostals, what am I associating with that term? Now, I'm going to point out right here, I'm specifically talking about a stereotype. This is stuff, might have been more true in the past than it is now. It seems there's been some movement that Pentecostals starting to edge off some of the weirder stuff that they may have been associated with in the past. They're a lot harder to tell apart from your typical evangelical Baptist than they may have used to be. But if I'm thinking of your stereotypical Pentecostal, stop me if you've heard some of these before. The idea that the apostolic gifts came back sometime between 1800 and 1950, along with the title of apostle or prophecy or various related things. It's starting to sound more like I'm talking about the new Apostolic Reformation, isn't it? When those outside of Pentecostalism think of Pentecostals, that's what they think of. They think of NAR. You see me kind of twitching at the thought of Pentecostalism. You see, NAR is nothing new. NAR and NAR-like movements have been around for a long time. And it's a certain thing among these types of people. Not just talking from a religious perspective. You can see the same thing in political perspective when you have, the John Birchers morphing into TEA, taxed enough already, morphing into the Tea Party, morphing into MAGA. And you also have the various terms, Joel's Army, Joshua Revolution, etc. And, trying to deny their connection to various groups in the past when there's absolutely no difference. Like, they think that by changing their name and saying that they're a completely new thing, you absolutely believe it. You see, when I tend to talk about issues I see with Pentecostalism, I should be clear. I'm not talking about your general Pentecostals. I definitely take exception to the ideas that, shabba-ba-ba-ba is biblical. I don't think it's biblical tongues. Based on the fact that there's clearly mentioned that someone should be able to understand what's going on. If it's just this kind of ecstatic gibbering, then you don't have a third party who's going to understand it. Then it doesn't seem to fit the definition of what's being called tongues in the Bible. But that's another matter. Your average Pentecostal isn't trying to take over the world in Jesus' name. Your average Pentecostal isn't going around spraying soy oil around trying to wipe demons out of city streets. Your average Pentecostal isn't going on about new about prophecy and how they got a feeling that the Lord told them something, and that somehow this makes them as important as Paul or John the Baptist or whoever. So I have to admit, yeah, maybe Pentecostal isn't the right word for me to use when I say, I tend to take issue with, but it's what used to be thought of as Pentecostalism in the broad sense. Nowadays, you can see sort of a movement back toward normalcy on one side, and the other just changed the name. Now, what you might call the spiritual sons and daughters of John Alexander Dowie, of Ellen White, dare I say, of Amy Semple McPherson, I mentioned Ellen White because she was someone who considered her own feelings, her own works, to be on par with Paul. And you see that a lot with the New Apostolic Reformation, even though they have no connection to the Seventh-day Adventists. May I also say spiritual sons and daughters of Mary Baker Eddy, because often New Apostolic Reformation is tied with Word of Faith. Word of Faith and Christian Science are both New Thought movements. New Thought, same old yea hath God said. So maybe I should be clear. My issue isn't with those who necessarily consider themselves Pentecostals. And frankly, it never was. It's with the New Apostolic Reformation. And it always has been. Jesus, freak out.